Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to The Landing. Hello, and welcome back to The Landing. We have a treat for us today, a very special guest. We have Miss Neta Willis, and I'm going to ask her now to tell us a little bit. Tell us who you are, who's your crowd, where you're from.
I'm from Harker's Island, and my family was Willie Lewis and Gertrude, and I am Edna Lewis's daughter. My mama had 4 sisters and 2 brothers. There was Ellie Guthrie. She was married to Louis Guthrie. And Wesley Lewis was married to, the last wife he had was Aunt Glennie Willis Guthrie. And then Howard Lewis, he was married to Letty Willis. And then Martin Lewis, he was married to Saber Willis. And then Ma, she was not married. She had me, but she was not married. And we lived on the water across from the Methodist church. And I was about 75 feet from the water.
Wow.
I could hear it. I could hear the menhaden people out mornings in the sound. And they were chatting and they were singing and they're pulling the nets and stuff. And the first thing I done when I got up in the morning, I put my clothes on and headed to the landing. Didn't stop to eat no breakfast. I go to the landing wide open and go down to the shore, and I would catch soft crabs, I would catch clams, and I would take it to the house, and Ma would clean the crabs and we'd fry them. That's what I had for breakfast, and it weren't bad either.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, me.
So,
I am envious of that.
and when I was married in 1959, I married Crawford Willis. He was Isaac Van Willis's grandson. And Isaac Van Willis was a lighthouse keeper to Cape Lookout and Cape Henry, Virginia. In 1936, he was in the National Geographic book. And I have a copy of the book. I ordered it. Pat Osborne down at Sea Level helped me get a copy of it, and I have it at home. And I have it 5x7, and I have 8x10 that I had made, and that's at the church because we had something last week about Heritage Week.
Yes.
And I got that on the stage in my box. I wanted to bring it and
Yeah.
show it to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, me and Crawford was married in 1959. David Davis and Eva Davis. He was a minister across from Clarence Willis's mom and daddy. And he married us down. And Kay Nelson and Thomas Nelson was mine Crawford's witnesses. We was married on Saturday evening about 7 o'clock. And I have a picture of me and Crawford that was taken the next day in front of his grandma's house. We stayed all night to Crawford's mama and daddy's house. That's where we lived with them. And we stayed there that night. And that next day after lunch, we got ready and got Crawford's mama and daddy. They had a skiff that they would go clamming in, but they didn't have a motorboat. They didn't have nothing like that. If we wanted to go clamming, we would have to catch a tow. They would take a line, put in their boat and tie us, and we would go in the skiff, and they would let us go in the shore. Of course, we could wade along shore and catch clams and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
But anyway, when we got married that night, Kay and Tom got us in the car, and we rode over to Atlantic Beach. The Don Ells used to be. Used to sit out front, and he was up in a tower playing music and stuff. And I don't remember I don't remember buying a drink or Tom and Kay getting a drink. We just sat there and listened to the music. And then after that, they carried us home and put us out to the edge of the road, because then was there by Carlos's store.
Mm-hmm.
There was a long path that went down to the shore. That's where Crawford's mom and daddy lived there, and the granddaddy too. They lived there.
Right.
So that's where we got. So Joanne and Susan Mazzarella had a little record player, and they had a record on the record player that was Elvis Presley's record, One Night with You.
Oh.
Elvis Presley was singing one night, and they had rice, and they threw it all over. They threw it all over me and Crawford. So when we went in the house, the day before we got married, though, I cooked my own wedding cake, and Crawford's mama, she fixed us a big pitcher that she had, and she fixed that full of Kool-Aid.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, the next day after dinner, Crawford's cousin took us and towed us in the skiff and pared us in our Dockmore's Bay, Shackleford Banks, and took the line and threw it out like that, and we walked ashore. We stayed over there for 3 days. We walked up there to Gurman's camp, and Crawford had his gun with him, and we walked in the woods, and Crawford was shooting guns and stuff, and he said, "Do you want to shoot the gun?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And I shot the gun, and I killed a robin.
Oh, me.
Yeah, I sure did. I didn't. Well, I did. I shot the robin. He was tickled to death.
Oh, yeah, he's proud of you.
That I had shot the robin.
Uh-huh.
So we walked back along the shore. We went back to the camp, and we had to cut some wood, because in Dockmore's camp, he had a big kitchen, and the house was open like this, like that, up there, open. And the rooms were sealed off by a partition, each room was. But the house was all open, and it was cold in there. No, and it was in January 17th, 1959, and this was January 18th, so it was cold.
It was cold.
Yeah. So Crawford went out, he said, I got cut some wood, so we had carried his axe over there. So I said, you know how you are, you first get married, you can't let your husband get out of your sight. So I stood to the window and watched him. And when he cut the wood, he was cutting the wood just as pretty as it could be. And a piece of it flew up and hit him on the nose and busted his nose. And I was the sorest I ever was. That was a sin where on the wedding day to bust your nose.
Yes, on his honeymoon, get killed.
God.
Yes. Oh, me.
Yeah.
Oh, what fond memories. That's awesome. That is so good. Thank you for sharing that. I want you to take us back a little bit to when you were a little girl. And growing up, and some of your memories that you have of the fish houses and that.
Let me tell that one fish house.
I would love that. Yeah, share that story with us.
I wrote this in November the 1st, 2021. Splitting big mullets at Henry Davis's fish house. When I was a little girl, my mother, Edna Earl Lewis, knew how to split mullets to get the red roe, to sell them for food. The roe are very delicious. Mother did this to take home some of the mullet, and the livers and gizzards is a very delicate. We love fried with a light roll. Make a delicious sandwich. Mother made things work to put on the table. I am so thankful to my mother taking me by the hand and walking me along the shore to Henry Davis's fish house. When we got to the fish house, in the middle of the floor, there was a great big pile of mullets. Mother and I were not alone there. There were other women there to do what we were. We all had to split mullets for food to take home for our families to eat. Everything was a blessing for us, and we're thankful to God for the chance to do this for our food on the table. Mother had her own knife to split the mullets, and Mother made a seat for me. She took a wooden fish box and turned it over for me to sit on by her side. I watched her split that beautiful big mullet to get the red roe. Back then, the mullet it itself did made much money per pound. best red roux was expensive. I ate. I sat by her side and watched her split that beautiful millet, not damaging the roux.
Mm-hmm.
Mother showed me how to wash and to salt roux. Let the salt stand for salt the roux for 4 hours and let it stand. Wash the salt off carefully. Dry the roux for days to dry. That will be firm and color is not red but on a beautiful color. So then you can fry it and have it with your home light rolls. Boy, this was a good sandwich. We were so thankful that Henry Davis asked all of us to help. We were so glad to get a chance to do this for our family. I think about good old days and I write it down, or everyone can read what I have written down so it cannot be forgotten. I learned a lot from my mother, and I am very grateful for her heritage, for me to pass on what I learned from her, to pass on to my children. I tell stories today about old times because I would sit and listen to the old stories. I'm glad that I have my memories of the stories and I can pass it on. I hope my family won't forget what I have told them of my wonderful childhood. I love you, Mother, your daughter, Neta A. Willis. Yep.
Abby.
Ain't that pretty?
Ooh, Abby. Yes.
Ain't it pretty?
Yes.
Now, all of my stories that I have in these books here are stories that's me, you know?
Yeah, that's your
My
life.
stuff.
That's your life.
Mine.
Yes, and of course the Henry Davis that you're talking about was my granddaddy.
I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, now I want you to talk about living off the water. When we talk about living off the water, a lot of people think instantly about fishermen and casting nets and doing that kind of stuff, but there's other ways. And
Yeah.
I remember vividly when I was growing up, and of course your daughter Christy was about my age,
Yeah.
and so we were in school together, and I remember you working all the time.
Yes.
But I especially remember you
Opening scallops.
opening scallops and clamming. So if you will shed a little light on those two subjects, the good, the bad, the ugly, but just share because I want people to hear what that's like.
Well, see, on the island way back, we had fish houses, and people on the island would go catch their catch of the day, and they would take it to the fish house, and they would, in Friday, they would get a check for what they got. But clams these days are expensive. Seafood is out of this world. Back when we were living, I remember Richard Guthrie. He would go days mulleting, and he would catch them and bring them to the shore. And we lived on the shore, like I told you. And Mom would take a pan and head down to the shore because we would hear Richard's come with his load of mullets. And it was 1.5 inch mullets, them little ones, just right.
Just right to eat.
So we would go down there and we would get 12 mullets for $1.
Oh my
And
goodness.
$1 was hard to get to.
Yeah.
$1 was hard. I know back when in 1930s in farming, people had to sell their stuff, but guess what they got? They didn't get nothing. 3 cents a bushel for their stuff. And they had to carry it to Moorhead on Front Street where the railroad tracks are, and had to sit there and wait for the train to come and sell it for 3 cents.
Yeah. Wow.
And when we would take the clams to the fish house, $3 a bushel. 90, there was 90, back then, of course, everything's changed now. Back then, 90 bushel, 90 pound was a bushel. That was a bushel basket. And they put them on the scales, and that was $3.
$3. Okay.
You go all day long, and Ray was the best clammer on Harkins Island, Culver's daddy. He'd go with that old Jersey rake over there to the short turn and get out in that grass all day long. Once in a while, he would stop and drink him a little bit of water or eat him a piece of bread, and he would go. And he could clam better than anybody else. he would always catch 3 bushel, $9. But when Saturday come, he had him $50, and he had enough to get something to eat. He would give, Crawford would go with him, and he would help him. They would give us, me and Christine would go to the A&P store to Beaufort, and we get $15 worth of groceries. We get $10 worth of groceries, $5 worth of meats to Thomas's Turn. The East Carteret was a meat place, and she sold the best meat, and it was cheap. Hamburger 39 cents, pork chop 69 cents.
Right.
It was nothing. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Right. So you didn't have a lot of money, but you could get stuff with it.
But you didn't get enough for your stuff.
Yeah. Right.
You did not get no good prices for your stuff.
Right. Now, when you went clamming, did you clam with a rake or your hands, or how did you do it?
No. I love to get out in the grass and feel them with my hands. Now, Crawford, he likes to stand up and feel them with his feet.
Uh-huh.
But when the tide would get just right in the shore, when the tides are rising, when tides are falling, they show. They have a mark they make in the sand.
Uh-huh.
And you've got to know what mark to make in order to pick them up. But you can make yourself some money by doing it.
And that's what they call signing.
Signing.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And when the sand gets, when the tide falls and the sand gets, the tide gets off of the sand, they'll make an indent. And you can catch them that way on the sand. But signing them, they have a keyhole and they have a dark hole and a light hole, dark hole. They have 3. I know how to catch them every way there was.
Yeah. Okay.
And Christy knows how to do it too, just as I do.
Oh, yes, she does. So you can rake.
Yeah.
You can do it with your hands.
And stomp them.
Stomp them with your feet.
Yeah.
Signing them.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
That's the best way to do it. There's a place in Banks Bay is where Neta Willis and David Yeomans used to have a camp over there too. But it was near the Dream.
Yeah.
And you come through the short turn, and the first place you come through the short turn, there was David's house on the hill, and there was Peter's house up in that bend over there. Yeah. We would sit there and wait for the tide to get just right. I won't tell you, I would get out and catch clams there. But if there wasn't nothing showing, if they weren't showing, sometimes they don't, we would go over to, in the middle of the banks, there's a place that goes through Tarpon Bay by the short turn, goes up in there, and then it goes on through to the Dream, and you can come on out in the Dream, then go home. But if you don't want to, you go that way, and there's a place in there called David's Point. Okay. There's a clam in there.
So you would literally, like, sometimes before the tide would get right, were looking for clams.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, and go. Wow.
I used to count them. I used to put 250 in a bag. And I would say, after I get the bag 250, and I would set them on the shoulder. And then I would go back. And then that evening, if we were in David's Pond, Crawford would go get a sack. I'd throw a sack on that shoulder and take that hand and put it under my back.
That's why your back's out.
Yeah. And that's what I used to do. But I enjoyed it the best there ever been.
Yeah.
But they were the just right clams. Now the big chowder, they don't get, now everything is, they're 20 cents a piece.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Phew. I'd like to have some clams. I love clams.
Oh, clam chowder.
Some clam chowder, yes. Now, before we finish, I want you to talk a little bit about scallops. Oatmeal scallops, because you've done your share of that too.
I ain't shot one of them, buddy. I ain't shot one of them.
Yes, you can.
And Ruth and Jim, they had Ruth and Jim, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They used to have one down there by Sammy's, we call it Sammy's Landing, there where Patty Jean and Mule lived. They had a little place down there that they opened scallops, but I never did open scallops there. And Elmo to the west, I opened for Elmo. And I went to the town and opened for Becky Smith there by the Beaufort Bridge. I went there that morning and started, and we quit about 4 o'clock because the scallops were going. We opened all the scallops. We opened them all. And I come home and cooked supper, and they said that we was waiting for Ellis's truck, them to come from up north But I went home and cooked supper and washed up and went to the Western and sat there and waited. I don't know what time it was I started, but I opened 20 gallons that day.
Oh, my goodness.
I opened 20 gallons that day to Becky Smith's, and I went home and cooked supper now. Ray probably washed the dish because he was always a help, corporate daddy. And I went up there and waited for the truck to come, and they put them on the benches, and I started. I don't know what time, I have no idea, but I quit at 12 o'clock.
Oh, my.
I opened 12 more gallons, so I opened 32 gallons that day.
Cool. And when you're talking about
And they're $3 a gallon is all we got.
$3 a gallon, and you talk about a gallon of open scallops, that's a lot of meat.
8 pounds.
8 pounds. I mean, that's a lot. That's
8 pounds to a gallon.
Whew. 8
With a
pounds.
lid on them. 8 pounds.
Now, who taught you how to open scallops? Because I can't do it. I mean,
Watching Mom.
I cut myself open.
Doing it myself, watching my mother. Used to catch them down to the shore, and I used to watch her. Mom was my teacher. I learned everything by her. The people in long hauling time would come, and I didn't even talk about this, but that's the way it was. People would catch sea turtles, and they knew Mom knew how to dress them. And she would take her knife and go down to the landing, and she would dress that turtle, and they would score at the turtle, split it down the middle and split it this way, 4 pieces. And each one of them had a paddle fin, and you get that.
Oh, wow. So each one would get a fourth of the turtle.
So that's the reason she done it, because we could have something to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I've never eaten, but I've always heard it was
And
good.
it was good. Yes, I think last I had, I don't know. I know I had some when I was pregnant with Ronnie Crawford in 1966.
Yeah.
But because Aunt Ellie cooked it, my sister, and Mom didn't want me to eat it. I don't know why. No, old tales, I guess.
Probably.
But I eat some of it and it didn't hurt me.
Nope. Oh, so good, so good.
It's turtle's good.
Well,
but I wouldn't kill one. I didn't kill no turtle. I don't kill no animals. I mean, I shot that robin. But what I'm saying, I don't kill no turtle or nothing like that. No.
Yeah, no. Well, our time is up, but a parting words. What would you like to end on? What message would you like to leave about anything, about the life you've had, the life you have now, the heritage?
I wouldn't change my childhood for nothing, but now it's different. It's not like it used to be. People we used to know one another and love one another and share our food. If we got more than what we had, we would share it with a neighbor that didn't have nothing. And Uncle Louie and Iona, he worked on a shad boat there, not a shad boat, but a fish boat out of Beaufort. And he would come home sometimes, and Iona would holler, say, "Don't you want a mess of this?" or "Don't you want a mess of this?" And we would go over there and get it, and that's the way we eat. Most of the time we had something out of the water. Very often we had nothing out the store.
Yeah.
It was always something out the water. And I miss it too, because that's all I want.
I started to say that sounds wonderful.
That's the best thing ever being made in this world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming. I
got more stories, honey, but if you want to hear them.
I know. And we're going to have to get you back. That's what we're going to have to get you back.
I got a lot of stories. I got this book full here.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for giving us some of your time. Oh, how I enjoy speaking with Miss Neta Adele. She has been a huge part of my growing up on Harker's Island. She is such a sweet and caring lady, and the world is certainly a better place with her in it. Please join us next time as we continue our conversation about living off the water. Until then, stay safe and be kind.